This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Will the Cavs be able to handle Madison Square Garden? Let's see what Stephen A. Smith has to say about this.
It takes, even if it means going smaller. But RJ Barrett, you might need to sit him down. He might need to sit down for this series. Every series ain't for everybody. There's some series, the great ones, the really, really good ones, they can play in any series. But there are others. You just don't have that kind of game. And you evaluated RJ perfectly for this series. He don't need to be seeing the floor. He ain't made for this series.
All right, so normally like teams in big cities, their players get overrated. This is a known fact. Like dudes get overrated from the Knicks and the Lakers all the time. The fact that we're not talking about RJ Barrett as like a massive disappointment is crazy, given the hype that he had coming into Duke and leaving Duke. Like, he's not just bad, he's a liability. He was a top 5 pick. And not a top 5 pick in like the same way Isaac Okoro is a top 5 pick or whatever pick that he was. He was like a top, like people looked at him as one of the best players in his draft class. And yet, he out here playing so bad that I get excited every time he shoot the ball.
He just don't have that kind of game. Not yet.
I watched you Saturday night. You look.
And what you mean not yet? What you mean not yet? It's been 3 years. When is RJ Barrett going to show? Like, it's one thing. It's one thing to not play well in your rookie year and then, start to get on the upswing the second and third year. You've been looking for flashes for RJ for 3 years. And he's giving you a game here and there, a couple games here and there, a month here and there. But at what point do you just go, oh, he's just inconsistent? Because that's the only thing consistent about RJ Barrett is that you can't trust him.
The strawberry shortcake man with that red suit on. Telling me that the orange and blue skies, baby. You were all pumped up. The Knicks might sweep the Cavs.
Yo, this is the worst lineup they got on First Take, by the way.
I got the Knicks.
Like Mad Dog Russo and Stephen A. Smith.
I picked the Knicks at 7.
Oh, you were so. What's changed? They lost the game in Cleveland. What are you making a big deal for?
I just finished saying. There's nothing changed. I predicted they were going to lose this game last night. They lost, even though I tried to give a motivation speech to tip the scales. But I expect the New York Knicks to go back to the Garden,
1-1.
handle their business.
All right, well, they're not going to win both games.
They might win in 6.
No.
They might win in 6.
This is also a 7. You don't think so, but I think this is a 7-game series, too. What's the big surprise?
No, I was talking about Clippers Suns.
No, you thought the Cavs had the...
Why? What about... And again, look, I know Knicks fans, they... so thirsty to get mad at me about something. And I'll give it to him. There's nothing about this series that says it's going to go 7 games. Like, unless the Cavs play unspeakably bad basketball for the rest of this series is not going 7 games. The New York Knicks cannot score the ball. Like, that is a real problem for them. Their best player is a good player, but not like a star player. He's a star. He's not like best player on the championship team. He's not that. And I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is that, but Donovan Mitchell is much closer to that than Jalen Brunson. That's just true. Anybody being objective says that's true. Outside of him, who do you trust to get the buckets on the Knicks? Julius Randle? Come on, man. We've all seen those movies. We've all seen them Julius Randle playoff movies. We know he can't be trusted. He might have a good game here or there, but he can't be trusted. RJ Barrett, we just talked about that. Emmanuel Quigley, it don't look good. It didn't look real trustworthy for the first 2 games. So where you have one dude who could score, and it's not like he's a great scorer. He's not an elite scorer. That's a problem. Why don't we talk about this? Like, why on every show nobody brings this up? That the Knicks cannot score if they're not having unusually hot nights from like guys who are playing like role players at this point. Like, their offense is an issue in the playoffs. If the Knicks had a Hawks jersey on or anything other than New York, and here's the thing with New York, people want them to be good. It's good for the league. You get to talk about Madison Square Garden. Like, I understand it. The Knicks have significantly more brand appeal than the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron James is not on the team. I understand. I live in reality about that. But you can't be so deep in that you start forgetting very obvious reasons why this is not that great of a matchup with the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks' best chance in this series is if they catch the Cavs off guard and hustle. Like, that's how they have to win these games. And if that's how you have to win these games, unless the Cavaliers decide like that game one's going to be the norm for them and how they played. And again, they played as bad as they've ever played all season, and they still almost won that game, mind you. Like, when New York plays bad, the Cavs beat them by 20. When the Cavs play bad, we lost by 4. That's the difference between these two teams. Nobody's talking about that. Like, I get it. It's 1-1. Everybody wants this series to go long because if you're not a Cavs fan, you want this to go to 7 because you want all that New York, Madison Square Garden stuff. I just don't think that's the movie that's going to be playing. We'll see if I'm right or wrong about that. But let's hear more about the Garden.
I think they have the Knicks number. I still think it can go 7. Yeah, I think the Cavs have figured something out here. I think they have figured something out here.
I think that, well, all right,
I think it can. I think it can.
All right. Well, what would you predict? You're here to predict. 5, 6, or 7?
I'll go 6.
6. You think what?
He wanted
No, I was thinking 7.
Say it with your chest
I was thinking 7 with the Knicks. I might go 6 games. They might win both of these games at the Garden.
No, they won't.
They might win both. And if they win both of these games, if they win both of these games, I'll concede they'll lose game 5. They ain't losing game 6
You
at the
were
Garden.
so giddy on Saturday night.
I'm still there. I'm still there.
You just gave me a big...
The thing is, like, y'all talk about the Knicks like they're a good home team. They're an all right home team. Like, they have an all right record. I know people try to make it seem like the Knicks have a bad home record. They have an all right home record. And here's my thing about the Garden. Everybody makes it a big deal about it's the Garden. But there is nothing that makes it a more difficult place to play basketball in, right? Like, this is not a situation like in football where Arrowhead is legitimately tough to play in. It has a legitimate effect on the court. This is not a situation like what Lincoln Financial, well, not Lincoln Financial, that's the Philadelphia Eagles, but whatever they're calling the Seahawks Stadium, where there's a legitimate advantage. This is just everybody getting excited because it's in the Garden. Like, that has a real effect for everybody not in the game. But if you're in the game, like, I kind of feel like the Garden motivates road opponents more than it intimidates them. Because if you're going to play in the Garden, you're not like, oh my God, I have to play in the Garden. You're like, yeah, everybody watching, I'm about to stunt. Like, that's usually what goes down in the Garden. Like, I don't know. Like, the Knicks don't have anybody that makes that home court feel different, right? Like, if you even want to look at NBA teams with home court advantages that feel different, the Warriors at home with Steph, that's terrifying. Because if Steph and Clay get going in that building, oh, it goes crazy. And there's Steph and Clay, right? The Cavs had a similar thing when LeBron was here. If LeBron gets going in Cleveland, it gets crazy, and it's LeBron. If the Knicks get going in New York, we just call that a 10-point run. Like, that can be come back from. You know what I mean? Like, that's the Garden is more of a talking point than it is an actual factor in these games. If the Cavs lose a game in New York, which could happen, that's well within the realm of possibility, it's not going to be because the Garden's lights were so bright and oh my gosh, we couldn't handle the pressure of playing in Madison Square Garden. Oh gosh, yeah. Like, no, it's just going to be because they lost the game. But we got to put it on New York. We weren't, like, remember when New York, Madison Square Garden came back in 2021 and Trey absolutely made himself a legend because of what he did in New York? It didn't seem to be a factor for Trae Young, is all I'm saying. It didn't seem to stop Trae Young or intimidate Trae Young. And that's Trae Young. We're talking about Donovan Mitchell here. Like, please save me all this mystical, magical Madison Square Garden stuff. Like, that's the only thing you have because you don't even have a good player, a player good enough to make that home court really mean something. Because who on the Knicks is the Knicks? Like, it's Jalen Brunson, but he ain't been there long enough for the fans to be that hot on him. Like they are about Steph in San Francisco, like they are about LeBron in Cleveland. There's just not that caliber of history, a recent history especially, about the Garden. It's a cool place to play. But that don't mean it's an advantage.
Excuse me. They were awful. They can't shoot. Listen, it was a bad night. It's a bad night. One game. I said, me a bag of shells. Do you not listen? I said there's nothing to be concerned about. Orange and blue skies, baby. They coming to the Garden now. They coming to the Garden. This ain't Cleveland.
You notice he still ain't answer any of these. He still ain't answer any of these questions about, hey man, who gonna score the ball, right? All he got is orange and blue skies, and well, that was Cleveland. This ain't Cleveland. Okay, dog, what you still playing the Cavs and you still ain't got no answers for some of the questions that they put up against you.
It's a different stage.
How many championships have the Knicks won in the last 100 years?
Well, I understand.
Cleveland's won one. You didn't win anything.
That's because of LeBron. I don't see LeBron. Do you see LeBron walking through that door in Cleveland? I don't see him walking through that door in Cleveland.
Who is walking through the door in New York? That's the real question, right? Again, yeah, LeBron not walking through that door, but Donovan Mitchell is. Who's walking through that door for New York? Because Jalen Brunson's good. Jalen Brunson don't put the fear in nobody's heart. And I'm not even saying Donovan Mitchell puts the fear in anybody's heart because he does it. But yeah, LeBron not here. But neither is. I'm not acting like, oh, it's impossible to play in the Q. You know what I mean? But you acting like it's impossible to play in Madison Square Garden like you got LeBron or something like you got something legendary going at Madison Square Garden. It's just a building.
He's in L.A. Last time I checked, he's in L.A. He ain't walking through that door for Cleveland, even though Donovan Mitchell is that dude who should have been a Knick, but that's a different subject for another day. At the end of the day,
another guy who chose who ended up on the Cavs that the Knicks really wanted.
They don't have enough. The New York Knicks will find a way. Tom Thibodeau, who should have, by the way, don't have Julius Randle in the game late with that nonsense. Tom Thibodeau almost got him hurt. What the hell is wrong with you, Tom Thibodeau? Let him sit down.
I ain't heard one compelling basketball reason of why the Knicks are going to push this thing to 7. All they running off of is hopium. Hopium and hatred of Cleveland or whatever it is. It's been some of the weirdest coverage that I've ever experienced. And I honestly hope the Cavs win both these games in Madison Square Garden so that we ruin it for everybody. You know what I mean? Let's ruin it for everybody. Win both these games in Madison Square Garden and just spoil the party. You know what I mean? Because I know they're going to be all excited on Friday. They're going to have their Knicks stuff. I would love to ruin the party. You know what I mean? They didn't show enough Spike Lee in game 2. You know what I mean? But game 3, they're going to have that brother on screen. And I'm trying to see sad Spike Lee all weekend. That's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think in the comment section now.